The project is informed by the 3Cs. That is the largest platform upon which this whole thing exists. And those 3Cs are community, charity, and change. That's the mission. Activation, inclusion, representation, effort, community, like fucking not being on the computer or your phone all day and getting some sort of engagement with another human, because the computer, not right now, is not going to fix it. It's the AI that we're hoping and waiting for. I'm sure it's there, but we don't know as publicly as some would like to know, and that's not, your computer's not going to fucking get up and change it. It's not going to grow. At least I don't think those fucking processing units yet have a moral arbiter button. I think that, yeah, man, I just think we need to stop relying on this newfound barrier that is technology or the keyboards. And we say these things and then we expect it to go into the ether and manifest as if that's going to shift the collective consciousness. And I just don't think that's it.
They're great tools, but they're just tools. You're the person behind it. You know, I think ultimately what seems to be missing in a lot of this stuff is like there's no personal connection with a lot of people, and there's a lack of empathy. And I feel like you're not really gonna find it with your phone, with your computer. You gotta know your neighbor. You gotta care. You have to give a shit beyond a comment, any of that. And I think in order to do that, you gotta look at your phone and your computer as just a tool. You gotta leave your house. You gotta meet people. You gotta shake hands. You gotta look in people's eyes and speak. And that's just not happening quite enough. It's happening. There's a lot of people out in the streets, and they're marching, they're protesting, they're speaking to people, they're meeting their neighbors, and it's rad. But I feel like if a small percentage of people did those things that left comments, it would be a whole nother situation in this country.
We show you where you can be with us or without us. If we're not there, we'll show you other places to go. We will offer representation. We will demonstrate how we have, been included in these efforts, and how you can be included in these efforts. Again, the tool as a tool. It's a tool. It's just a way to offer a space for people to, perhaps you can't get here with us, with others, where you are due to various restrictions. This is a place also for you to obtain representation. Understand that there are others out there thinking like you or not like you, and understanding that there is a place for you to have that discussion. And that is very much how we utilize our social media, is to have the discussion, really, and open a safe space digitally, if you will, and give you an opportunity, if you so choose, to join us in the physical realm, if you'd like to.
I mean, it's a great preview of the things that we're about and the things that we want to do, and it's great for getting word out quick, but that it's not real life. Real life is showing up. Real life is being at the events. Real life is having a conversation where you have to hear someone respond back at you.
Right.
And even just the sense of being responsible for your own energy, because it's so easy to put something out and then just let it sit there and never go back to it. And so again, efficiency, for that reason, it's great, because you can get word out quick, but it's definitely not the whole story.
Again, I think there's a history that we've kind of glazed over in our textbooks, and there is a history that we're creating right now that we are ignoring, and the negative effects of both histories. I just wanted to talk about. I just wanted to really understand that this country was built on the backs and the efforts and with the bodies and tribulations of others. And we talk so much about being the greatest, number one, a superpower. We win a lot of medals in the Olympics. But it's not enough to just talk about right now. We forget how we got here, and then we wonder why we have the problems that we have today. And I think if we were just honest about how we got here as a country, not only would we offer, and I use this word lightly because I know it's a very trigger word, reparations, or we can amend things, but I also think that we would be even greater as a country if we just understood how we got here and we gave the respect to those people that we've been disrespecting, subjugating, marginalizing for so long.
Right.
And obviously, you know, I'm speaking about people of color. I'm also speaking about the gay community, trans. I'm speaking about everyone that has felt displaced. Because whether we want to admit it as a country or not, all of these people, even the ones that we try to cast aside, built this country. And I'm talking about then, and I'm also talking about now, because we have a really strange history that we're creating right now. And this tangent is very strange. But I'm hopeful. That's why I wrote Made in America, those 3 words, because I am hopeful. I'm not just bleak.
I mean, this band for me personally is such a learning experience. Like how I spoke earlier about how after shows we speak to people. I receive a lot of knowledge that I didn't know prior, just because there's so many different people, so many different views. But growing up in school, there's just so much, again, speaking personally, about my people that just was never touched on. It's like you learn about black people as slaves first in school, and then it's kind of it, and then civil rights, and then everything's okay. But in reality, there's such a rich African history that was never touched on in the South where I grew up. When I have the opportunity to speak to people at shows about that, it's almost like a light turns on and people like realize, oh wait, yeah, African kings and queens, like it's just not anything we ever spoke about. It's like, yeah, it's like you're realizing that, and I didn't even realize that until I was older, you know? So it's like, it's sort of like, it's an opportunity to like turn on lights in people's heads. And that's just one subject, you know, that's just one thing, you know? But I love being able to do that, and for people to be able to do that for me as well. It's I do feel, I don't want to say, I don't know if obligated is the word, but I'm like hungry to do it, because I know how it feels when you realize that you've been held out on, especially in like the education system.
Yeah, I feel no obligation whatsoever, and I think that's the beauty of anyone that makes a choice. I feel no obligation to do anything. I just make choices. And I think that's our self-possessed freedoms, and you know, we get to make choices. If I were to say that I was obligated, then I think that it would be remiss, and I think that others would feel like I expect something of them, which I don't. I don't expect anything from anyone. I hope, I wish, I want, but I don't expect anything from anyone. I think that's because I've grown up not getting any help. And that's another reality that we don't discuss. We don't discuss the hardships of the lower class, lower middle class, the middle class currently, the gap that is increasing. We don't talk about those things in school. We talk about our victories, talk about how we won. What did we do? Who won? Who are the faces you see? What partners did they have? Were any of them gay? Were any of them black? Did any of them dress differently? No. But they did. Here's the thing, is they did. there are so many people that won, that aided in these victories that look like you, that look like you, that look like you, that look like me, that look like us. And I think the lack of representation is appalling in school systems, because you're teaching everyone. You're supposed to be teaching everyone. But the idea of representation is leaving so much to be desired. You think about this. You take a photo, okay? You take a photo of a group. Who's the first person you're going to look for? It's you. So if you're not in that photo, well, then you weren't there. And if you weren't there, it doesn't really pertain to you.
Mm-hmm.
So why would we read these books and get no representation about these fucking fabled stories about people and glory, and then expect some sort of hope and ambition and drive and pride in who
In what?
in what and why? And what's crazier is that we've been omitted. We've been omitted from those textbooks. That's the thing. It's not even like, oh well, they weren't there. These people were there. These people are here now. There are people today that are owed, that are due reparations and representation today, that are still alive. My father was alive when he couldn't drink from a certain water fountain because of his skin complexion. My father, my dad, my grandfather was part of from a reservation and the son of a man who was indentured. Like, this is not that far. How can you expect our youth to give a fuck when there's nobody that represents them? That is, I think, is the biggest misstep that we make in education is representation. Then I think there's an emotional education that we miss too.
For sure.
You know, and I could go on forever and ever about education because it's something financial. I mean, everything. Anyway, yeah. How do you expect our youth to give a fuck if they're not getting represented? So we get in the van and we go, tonight I spoke with someone who was completely antithetical to what I believe on this issue. And when you get that and you're able to listen and absorb a civil, sober conversation with someone about what they believe in, you see quickly how similar you are. Mm-hmm. You go, oh, you care about something so deeply the way I care about this thing. Mm-hmm. May not be the same thing, but internally we are sharing the same. The floodgates are open when it comes to serotonin and dopamine, and we're feeling these things right now for different reasons. I'm from here. I've been taught this. I haven't been taught this. You're from here. You've been taught this. You haven't been taught this. We meet in the middle and we try to understand why. And with what we're writing and what we're discussing, the one thing you cannot take away from any of us are our truths. And my experience and Steven's and Eric's experience, those are ours. And you can't take that from us.
Before we even played shows, we just had so many talks, and I don't know what I thought the talks would be like with, you know, people who come to these demonstrations, but it is so different in a great way, because I think I imagined more performing for people who kind of just see eye to eye initially, just because that's just what you expect. You hear a song and you hear a message and you just kind of, you know, gravitate towards that. But we played to so many people, so many different kinds of people, so many different walks of life, so many people, depending on where we are, who just do not agree with what we have to say, but they're there for the music. But they'll stick around because they want to say great show. And then sometimes they stick around and they've caught themselves in a conversation they didn't know they were going to have. So I think that how that affects the next moves and the writing, it's almost just like, how could it not? Because our audience is so, it's, at least personally, it's so broad, and it's just to a point that I never would have thought it would have been. So and like I said earlier, man, like, I'm learning from them, you know. It's like I won't go into it, but there's like different subjects that we sing about that I'm sort of shifted my view on because of people who've come to our show and kind of spoken to me about where they come from. So
They pave new paths for the platform.
Yes.
That's what they do.
yeah,
They just pave another path for you to walk into and onto the platform. This is not an esoteric, ostracizing platform. This is literally something that is so wide open for people to walk across that bridge and exist and have a discussion. And they're just paving more roads for us to open the platform. Empathy is the answer. If there's an answer, it's understanding. It's really simple. I think that you are saying something that you believe in, and you have all of these beliefs that you've thought in your head and you've built in your heart, and you use your mouth to speak on, and then someone confronts you. That's challenging. Which is totally fine. I get it. But at the end of the day, you said it. That's it. It's empathy. It's understanding. And we are here just to offer that space. Again, don't get me wrong. Like, I believe in some wildly radical reformation. I'm just honest. Like, that's what I believe. If everyone was like, one day said, yeah, Jason, literally 300 million plus people believe that too. We should try it. Sick. I'd go for it. But that's not going to happen. I really don't think it's going to happen. And again, the idea of representation, knowing there are others that think this way, and perhaps maybe if we find some sort of balance or a better balance on what we have now, then maybe we can start getting the answers we look for. But it all begins with empathy, which is why we wrote Walking in My Shoes, which is why we have the Walking in My Shoes Foundation, which is why everything we do is experiential and encouraging of discussion, which is why this is mostly a platform. And this is, we like to believe, a movement and a message as importantly as it is the soundtrack to said movement and message. The music is just as equal, contingent as the message and the movement and the platform. But it's empathy. That's what this platform rests on.
I think on that point as well, self-awareness is also something that people need a little more, because obviously we know, like, human beings are very emotional, and I've seen different situations where there will be a question asked that's not giving a point. It's not saying one side or the other. It's just questioning both sides, and somebody that's been so emotionally invested into one side will lash out at the question. So it's not even someone opposing their view. It's just literally the concept that what they've believed in so deeply could possibly have been misguided or wrong or whatever. Just the possibility of it can piss people off. And I think if people were a little more self-aware of why they feel certain ways, whether it was a personal experience, whether it was based off statistics, whether it was, given to them just through their parenting, anything like that, when you start to have conversations with people and you realize that growing up different ways affects the way that you feel, and that not everybody's had your experience, you become more self-aware, and I think it's a lot easier to accept concepts that are new to you at the time, and it'll kind of diminish that emotional filter that a lot of people put between them and whoever they're talking to, especially on a political subject and especially on the internet. So I think self-awareness would help a lot, and we see that interesting interaction constantly at our shows. But fortunately, I feel like so far people have been pretty civil about it.
For the most part, it's been cool.
Yeah, except for that time Rock and Ranger dude just said "fuck you."
Yeah, that.
Oh,
yeah, I got yelled at Rock and
Also,
for
feel
wearing...
free. There are so many different ways to receive your information, and there's so many different people that are going to give it to you. We are just another set of people that are offering information and speaking on our experience. We are not here to tell you that we are correct or that we have the answers or that our agenda is one to subscribe to if you want those answers. That's not what we're here to do. We're only here to offer representation for those that may feel the same, or those that do not and have questions about our experience, about what we believe in, about our message. Again, a safe space to discuss those things. And also, this is AP. I talked to Mike. I talked to the dude who fucking started this thing. I talked to him the other day, man. And if we're going to change anything, if you guys are wondering why print media is going this way, or why the fucking internet feels so bold and they can just say whatever they want, or why bands don't speak on these issues, or why they aren't honest. Like, you have to hold people accountable. You have to hold yourself accountable. That's why these things are happening. Things that you don't like, it's a hard fucking truth, but we all have a part in the things that we don't like. If we're not holding ourselves and others accountable for the things that we don't like. And we talked about this earlier. We, as a project, feel as though bringing this idea and this platform along with us, alongside even those that may be antithetical, even those that may not initially or immediately subscribe to what it is we're talking about, should not scare you or us from what we believe is right.
Right.
And that's talking about the truth. Just because someone doesn't believe in what you believe in doesn't mean you can't talk to that person. Doesn't mean you can't associate with that person. Us just pushing each other away all the time because we don't see eye to eye is becoming damaging, and it's actually becoming quite problematic. If we can at least try to discuss our truths as a people, I think we might be doing a little bit better than we are right now. I'm not out here to talk shit about a fucking publication that I'm on. I'm just saying, maybe that's you guys' job too. Like, maybe that's what publications should be doing too. If we all feel these things and we leave this fucking camera, we turn it off, we talk about all these fucking things, like, maybe we should print about it. Maybe there are kids that feel the same way. Maybe that's the problem we're having with subscription. Maybe that's the problem we're having with apathy and fucking watching people in 30 seconds hurt themselves. Like, this is like a fucking crazy Black Mirror episode at times. Maybe we just need to start talking our truths all the time in our jobs, with our partners, with our friends, in our lives. And again, this goes to everybody, not just AP. This is everybody. Maybe that's what we need to. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know. But that's what we're going to do. And if that's what you want to do, you have a safe space to do it with the Fever 333.